Hello everybody, Maven here, and I've had the desire to use the Coldheart in the Crucible for the past 2 years, but I kept procrastinating and putting it off, and boy was that a huge mistake. Now, I've never really used trace rifles in PvP before. I never really gave them a fair chance. I tried the Prometheus Lens a few times, but I never really loved it because the muzzle flash is horrendous. I can't see what the heck I'm aiming at. That's why I couldn't aim well with it. So this was a classic case of one bad apple ruined the bunch. I didn't really enjoy the Prometheus, so therefore I never really tried another trace ever again. And that's why I haven't used a trace rifle in years, and that was a massive mistake because I finally got around to trying the Coldheart, and oh my gosh, this thing is broken. I don't care what anyone says, the Coldheart is the best trace rifle in the game, and I got evidence to back that up. So let's break it down. Hope you enjoy. So first and foremost, we're here on D2 Foundry for some TTK comparisons. So here's the Aegir Scepter, which doesn't have any particular thing boosting its damage. So this is just to show you the baseline TTK of a vanilla trace. So the optimal TTK is 0.73 with 11 crits and 1 body shot, and to the body it's 1 second flat at 16 body shots. So comparing that to the Coldheart, it has a perk that makes it ramp up in damage as you deal sustained damage with it. So with that said, it has a better optimal TTK at 0.67 with 9 crits, 2 body, and a body shot TTK of 0.87 at 14 body shots, which is much better than a just base trace rifle. Now to compare that to some other stuff, here is a trace rifle with the perk Target Lock. And if we look at the base TTK here, and when I add Target Lock, it barely changes anything at all. The optimal TTKs don't change, no other values change. It basically does nothing. Now let's take a look at the path of least resistance. It's the only trace rifle to get the perk Gut Shot Straight. And being a 1000 RPM weapon, one could say that trace rifles are spray and pray weapons, so body shot TTK is not to be overlooked. So it starts off at 1 second flat at 16 body shots, but when I add Gut Shot Straight, it goes down to 0.87 at 14 body shots. But remember that the Coldheart already has a 0.87 TTK because of its pseudo target lock perk, while having a better optimal TTK and not losing out on aim assist from having to run something like Gut Shot. Now let's take a look at the Wave Splitter. At base, it is just a vanilla trace rifle, as you can see, but it does have this perk. So if we pick up an Orb of Power, it will get that supercharged battery online, which will keep it at its highest damage state temporarily. So when that happens, we'll have the same optimal TTK as the Coldheart, given it does take 2 more crits, and the body shot damage is still 1 shot slower. And remember, it requires an Orb of Power to achieve this TTK, whereas the Coldheart requires absolutely nothing. Now let's take a look at the brand new Chronophage that just came out in Act 3, and it's the first trace rifle to get the perk High Ground, which is pretty insane. This perk can be activated on a kill, but if you are standing at a higher elevation than your opponent, this perk will proc at its maximum effectiveness for free. And that's not going to happen very often, but when it does, you'll have the same optimal TTK as the Coldheart has, except the Chronophage is just a smidge more forgiving because it requires 1 less crit. And seeing as how a majority of your gunfights are not going to be from higher ground, it's not worth that 1 less crit optimal TTK and ultimately isn't faster than the Coldheart. Now there are a couple outlier traces here that we can't properly calculate on D2 Foundry, such as the Prometheus Lens that leaves behind a pool of fire on sustained damage, and then there's the Divinity that makes a cage so all your shots count as crits. So their TTKs are going to be a little bit inconsistent here on D2 Foundry, so let's go into a private PvP game and test it out. So here's how fast we can kill with the Prometheus Lens. And now here's a side-by-side comparison in slow-mo against the Coldheart. I slowed it down to 10% speed, and forgive me because it's laggy as heck, and also I'm an idiot and didn't verify if the person on the right was at 100 resilience, but it looked like it might have been a tie because I think there was a lot of lag despite it looking like the Prometheus killed a frame faster. I'm not totally sure, but if D2 Foundry does have the correct TTK values for Prometheus, then it is indeed slower because it has the same TTK of a vanilla trace rifle. But maybe Arcane Sword has the answer, who has nearly 100,000 Crucible kills on Prometheus Lens, and that's not an exaggeration. Seriously, go check his channel out if you want to see some top Prometheus Lens gameplay. But now let's check out the Divinity. So here's how fast it can kill normally. And here's the slow side-by-side comparison, and clearly it's a lot slower than the Coldheart for the trade-off of holding more ammo and being extremely easy to land your shots with. So all in all, the Coldheart is just the best, but I can see the Prometheus Lens argument, but it just has such a massive muzzle flash that it's hard for me to aim, dude. I don't know. But at least it's good for hip firing, so it's pretty good for Solar Warlock when you have heat rises. Once again, check out Arcane Sword because that's what he does. But there's also one more benefit of the Coldheart, and that is the insane multi-kill potential. Remember, the Coldheart ramps up in damage on sustained damage, similar to the Target Lock perk, except it's much more forgiving because with Target Lock, if you miss a shot, it resets the perk back to 0. And not only does the Coldheart ramp up a heck of a lot faster, but if you miss a shot and you're going from target to target, it doesn't reset your damage boost. The damage ramping effect on the Coldheart is more of an invisible ticking meter that just goes down if you miss shots but doesn't drain completely. So with that said, here's how fast we can shred when we move from target to target, and just pay close attention to those damage numbers ramping up like crazy. It's absolutely insane for a trace rifle. It's basically a machine gun. That puts this trace in a league of its own, but in the unrealistic scenario where there are 3 players in our way, we can ramp up damage between the 3 targets and just look at how ridiculous those damage values get and how stupidly fast we can melt that dude. And it doesn't matter if you're multi-killing 3 targets or 2 targets, it's still going to have the most unfair TTK ever, and nothing is competing with that, not even heavy machine guns. And this is the concept of moving between targets with a Coldheart, and something I've done multiple times in the background gameplay. And if I can find an example of it, I'll try to remember to put it in the video right now, but no promises. It is just one of the most stupid, unfair TTKs I've ever experienced in the Crucible. My jaw drops every time I see it. But as it goes with every great thing that's too good to be true, there always has to be a catch, right? Well, it is a 1000 RPM full auto weapon, so the range must suck, right? Well, joke's on you, bud. This thing has a damage fall off of 35 meters, dude. It literally has high impact pulse rifle range with the same optimal TTK as them, except it also shines in closer ranges as well, so it's more versatile. And it has nearly double the body shot TTK because it has 0.87 TTK, whereas the high impact pulse rifles have 1.6. So yeah, basically double, and it's much more consistent. So it's just an absolute monster of an archetype, and there's really no catch to it. It's just straight up broken. And the thing is, it's been this way ever since year 1. This was the first exotic trace rifle and one of the first exotic weapons in the entire game in general, and to my knowledge, it's never been meta. And after using this thing, that kind of blows my mind. I mean, it could have been meta when it first came out, I don't know, but from what I know, it hasn't. And this is something I 100% want to bring in a Trials of Osiris because it feels so unfair. It's similar to the Forerunner in a way where it gives you that confidence to peek because you know your TTK is better than theirs is. That's how I feel when I use this thing. I've been peeking lanes that I normally wouldn't peek because I have full confidence that my TTK is better. And guess what? It is. I peek all the lanes and I win my ones every time. It's no joke. And in Trials, each round starts you with the special ammo crate, which gives you enough ammo for basically 2 free kills. And something you would think is a problem with full auto weapons is that your opponents can dip back into cover and essentially make you waste your ammo. But out of all the games I played with this thing so far, that has barely ever happened in my experience. Because the TTK is so fast and the range is so good that the opponent does not even have a chance to react. They just get schmelted like a machine gun. And if you were curious about the build I'm using with this thing, I'm just on Void Hunter with the Knucklehead Radar. And I know this is supposed to be a Coldheart video, but honestly, the Knucklehead Radar is worth a video of its own because this is my first time ever using the Knucklehead Radar, and it's such a useful exotic. I'm actually shocked at how good it is, seriously. I can't believe I wasn't using this thing all along ever since its buff. The wall hacks it gives are so extremely useful and really helps you win your ones. But the main reason I whipped it out when I decided to try the Coldheart is because the Knucklehead Radar has a second ability that says you deal more damage to lower health marked targets. And since trace rifles are 1000 RPM weapons, you'll have more leeway to take advantage of that Knucklehead damage boost when your opponent is weak since you're spraying so many bullets. And the reason I'm using this build on Void is because I wanted to pair it along with the Reaper mod, which makes an orb after dodging. And if I was going to dodge before engaging in a gunfight, then what better subclass to use than Void, because that dodge will make me invis. And the reason I wanted to make that orb a power is because I'm using triple arc surge on my boots to give my Coldheart a 5.5% damage boost. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but it does shift the TTK values a bit, especially when paired with the Knucklehead radar damage boost as well. So for reference, here was our base TTK values with the Coldheart: 0.67, 9 crits, 2 body, and an optimal body shot TTK of 0.87 at 14 shots. But watch what happens when I activate Knucklehead radar and then Reaper. Our optimal TTK is still 0.67 sadly, but at least it takes only 6 crits and 5 body, which is so forgiving. And to the body, it actually takes 1 less shot at 0.8 TTK flat, which again is very, very forgiving. So you really do not have to stress about hitting nothing but crits with a Coldheart, because its body shot damage is so good compared to literally everything else in the game. Seriously, compare that to anything else, it's not even close. Not even sidearms come close. So this is the most forgiving full auto weapon in Crucible, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It maps people, it kills fast, it's easy to use, and it's hard to duel against and gives you confidence to peek any lane. I absolutely love this thing, and it's definitely going to be one of my new main weapons. And in the background gameplay, I absolutely stomped lobbies with this thing in Iron Banana, and I was using Rufus's Fury along with it, which was slaying out pretty good as well. I love the Rufus's Fury. Unfortunately, at the end of the game, Iron Banana doesn't tell you how many kills you got or your combat efficiency. Thanks, Bungie. But in the games I had in the background, I must have dropped at least a couple 40 bombs, and I got a wee ran out of medals, which if you're new to Destiny, that basically means a 20 kill streak, which is obviously tough to do. But for the Coldheart, it was no problem, and I even came extremely close to getting 2 more we ran out of medals, but I ended up getting team shot out of those opportunities when I was on like 15 kill streaks. And remember, I suck at Crucible, so if I slayed out that hard with this thing, imagine what you could do, because you're definitely better. So if you want another weapon to crutch on, give this thing a try. I'm not kidding, log into Destiny 2 right now, grab Coldheart from collections, queue into Iron Banana, and give this thing a try, and then come back to this video and leave a comment telling me how it went. I'm sure you'll thank me. And that's gonna do it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. What's your favorite trace rifle? Am I wrong? Is Coldheart not the best trace? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and drop a like if you enjoyed the video. Your interaction really goes a long way and helps out a ton. And if you are new here, please consider subscribing. Would love to have you here. And with that, I will catch you in the next video. See you later.